Welcome to the Collingwood Rant. I'm Sly.
And if I pass out today, it's because all the blood's been rushing to my nether regions. Spook.
It's got nothing to do with all the beer.
That's got a lot to do with the beer.
Spook!
Yes!
Does anyone whinge like a Scott?
Seriously.
Chris Scott, Brad Scott?
If they're on their way to the Antarctic, like their ancestor was, they would have whinged the whole way there. Who's the most accomplished whinger in football? Is it the Scott brothers?
Potentially.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Do you know the 666 rule fucked me today?
And Laverde got it.
Yeah, it didn't impact one side either more or less than the other, but it fucked us today.
Yeah.
Sorry, I went into Scott mode.
Well, that actually segues into the next bit.
Do we win?
How good was the umpiring?
Oh.
We can say it, we won now. How good was the fucking umpiring?
We did talk about this because there was a tipping point between...
We did a little bit more than talk about it.
At three-quarter time, if we go into the rant today and we whinge about the umpiring, we've lost this game. It does come across like massive sour grapes. But the fact that we won is we got fucking raped. Is that the right word to use anymore?
Oh.
Great. We got great. It was a terrible umpiring performance. I think it's important that we get out of our systems up front because it was shit.
No, it was appalling. I mean, Josh Dragos got dragged off the ball.
Who got dragged off the ball?
Josh Dragos. Josh Dragos.
Dragos.
He's up there with Drake Crisp.
I've come to suck your ability.
Nick Dagos got disallowed from taking the fucking an advantage. I don't know what that was for. There was repeated ones that were like in the backs hole. Like they paid it to them, but they weren't paying to us.
No.
And there was like holding the balls that we weren't paid to fucking us. There was in the backs and all that sort of shit, and they were coming at pivotal times, so they're just turning momentum back. You needed something to go right for us in those three quarters.
No, it's also one of those classic examples where it's not so much the prees that they were paying, it's the ones that they weren't paying. Yeah. That was the frustrating part. But anyway, winners and grinners.
No, look, I just want to say that was appalling, and the AFL should actually look at that and drop those three umpires, because that's some of the worst umpiring I've ever fucking seen.
It was
and the little ones they were pulling out were just fucking ridiculous. For like Essendon, there was always like little jumper tugs and all that stuff. When Josh Taker, the first quarter got tackled, you saw his jumper got distended, and then he got dragged right off the ball, and I was going, we'll just play it on. And Josh Taker's got him up and just gone, what the fuck, man? What are you fucking watching?
Anyway, I think it's unfair to bag the umpiring when the 666 rule was the reason.
Well, that was a problem.
That destroyed the game today.
Oh, look, if we were in, say, the subcontinent, I would be looking at match-fixing allegations. That was seriously, that was terrible. And that was embarrassing. And those three umpires should just hang their heads in fucking shame. Because I can't remember, the final free kick count was like 18-8 or something like that. Incredibly
unbalanced.
Yeah. And again, it's not the ones that were getting, it's the ones that you weren't paying back. So if you're going to pay those, pay them the whole fucking way through. It just really pissed me off. So let's go. The three quarters, we were basically playing for half. We were basically playing catch up. That first quarter, we were really fucking scrambling, fumbly, weren't very purposeful moving forward. Second quarter, we got on top for a little bit. They hit back. It just looked like they were crowding us, not giving us room to run, not giving us room to spread. Rusco taking Murphy's place down back in the first half looked just terrible. He was just punching everything. He felt out of sync. And I'm not bagging Rusco. Like, he's coming to...
Apart from that time you bagged Rusco.
Like, I'm a Rusco fan. First game for how long? I don't think he's played since about mid last year. And his first game is in front of 95,000 in a really high pressure game.
Big stage. I think they call it the big stage.
Yeah. So, the first half just sort of seemed out of sync with the other defenders. The second half, I thought he really started doing some really good stuff. I'm not sure about that Nick Dacos guy. Will he make it? I don't know. It's probably up in the air whether he'll become a player or not.
Well, they obviously felt sorry for him to give him the Anzac Day medal at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, he unanimously got 3 votes across all 4 luminaries that voted for him.
But one of those
would that be sympathy votes, surely, wouldn't it?
I don't trust.
I think it's sympathy votes because the 666 rule destroyed the game today.
I don't trust one of the voters because they gave 2 to Mason Redmond. So
that was one to Baden.
Oh well,
one to Redmond.
Yeah,
I think that's because she fancies him.
In the third quarter, they just killed us. Couldn't get hands on the ball.
That's absolutely, it was terrible.
They smashed us.
I think we were preparing for a massive shock.
Look at Frampton in the ruck.
I thought he did really well.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not so much he's done really well today. I think he's done really well over. Yeah, he's been thrust into that. What's a role that he played at Port and stuff? So it's not like he's gone into this as a completely raw, I've never done it before person, but he's executing it okay.
No, I think in the right contests themselves, I think he's doing really well. He knows when to tap, he knows when to go for it. He's not like, he's not an elite ruck, but I think you look at the Brisbane game, McStay was just clueless in the ruck, and that's not having a shot at McStay, but
I think he just had a shot at McStay.
he was clueless. But Frampton did really well, and I think I sort of said the one thing he's not doing as a ruck is like taking marks on the ground, and took a mark in the last quarter and kicked the goal. But that's what he needs.
Which kickstarted the resurgence.
But
I think he looked at everyone and said, "That's enough. Look what I'm doing."
the one thing I'd like to see from Frampton at that size is just, mate, if you're in my way, I'm gonna run into you. I'm gonna crunch the fuck out of you. Get out of my way. Which is
you don't think he's doing enough?
no.
Do you think the 666 rules?
Kruger in the first half.
Jesus Christ. Look, I mean, he's been out of the game, what, now about 94 years?
Yeah.
Look, I don't think there was a lot of positives you can say about him today. Even for a resurgence is the wrong word, return game, it wasn't good. Very, very poor. The fact that he couldn't hold any mark that was coming his way is I mean, he was barely leaping for the rock contest. I'm not sure what he was meant to be doing out there. And actually, and I hate to say this, we became a better side when he went off. He
leapt way too early several times.
Well, those two marks that he went for, where he leapt, I think last Tuesday, he started the run and the leap. Look, he was massively... Look, he's better for the run. Do we know he wasn't injured at the end? He was
I mean, I think it's
subbed out for...
I think it's what Craig said, he was going to play minutes and they took him off.
Too many minutes, I think, at the end.
But look, I think ultimately, I don't know what's happened with Cameron and Cox, but it seems to me that they were looking at it from the point of we've got to start getting some time into these guys because we're just so short.
It's definitely not going to hurt.
Yeah.
He won't be playing next week, though. I think it's fair to say.
I think he probably won't play next week simply because it's a 4-day turnaround. If it was a week, I think he probably would. And that's depending on whether Cox is fit. We were told he was fit. Thanks, someone. Yeah. Josh Dacos, just too often now, is living in the shadow of his brother, and he got 30 possessions at 84% disposal efficiency.
We did comment on this during the game, and I think we've mentioned this in the last couple of weeks. It's you almost feel a little bit sorry for Josh because he is living in the shadow of his younger brother.
Everyone's living in the shadow of his younger brother.
As much as I think it actually makes him a better player, he deserves some recognition for what he's doing week to week, and I think it's lost under Nick's performances. It's a little bit of a shame because he's playing really well. What was his numbers today? 30 touches.
30 possessions, 84%.
You would take that most weeks from midfield. He's playing on the wing. That's a fair return, I would have thought.
Yeah.
Great player. The Dacos brothers. I think it's important that no matter what happens from here is that we start farming
Dacos,
Peter. Yeah. Something on ice. Probably sperm. Sperm is the word.
Jordan De Goey.
Sperm is the word. Let's just freeze whatever it is he's producing.
Jordan De Goey.
And we could probably forge a Collingwood side for the next 2,000 years. And in that time, we could win 3 flags.
As long as they don't implement the 666 rule. Jordan De Goey.
Again, I think it's one of those classically understated games. His numbers, I think, at the end, it surprised us a little bit about how much that he was involved. He was good without
13 kicks, 15 handballs, 5 marks, 2 goals.
He doesn't play a game at the moment where he's putting his hands up going, oh fuck, look at me, how good am I? He's just a really exceptionally solid contributor.
Yep.
He's doing his role times 10. He's doing everything I think that's asked of him brilliantly. But he's not standing out because there's the limelight's on a 19-year-old.
Well, I've got to say what I think of the goal is that goal he kicked at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, well,
you needed something
massively
right then.
Clutch goals.
Yeah, and that was a vital kick, given the context of the game right then. Tom Mitchell.
Again, I backed him for the Anzac medal. That's how confident I was he was going to win it today. But clearly, what do I know? But I think again he's massively understated in terms of what he's actually providing. I think you're all conditioned to think that he's going to be getting 40 touches.
Well, that's what he's doing at Hawthorn.
Yeah, like what he did at Hawthorn. I think you could have got 40 touches at Hawthorn. I would have got 50, but you would have got 40.
I'd get 40 anyway. I'm that good.
But I think it's just like you are conditioned to think that's what you're going to get week in, week out with him. But he's actually now playing a completely different role at Collingwood. And I think he's executing that superbly in terms of... it's not so much about him and what he does as an individual, but what he's doing for the team. And they're like, he's never going to be, again, another one that's shining a beacon in the air saying, look at me. But he's executing his role superbly.
8 kicks and 15 handballs and 8 tackles. So he led the tackles for us. I mean, I think one of the concerns for us today was, well, several concerns. One, they were really scrappy and fumbly. 2, they slipped over a lot.
Yeah, I don't ever get that because, like, this is beautiful Melbourne weather today. What was it, 24, 25 degrees? We haven't had any rain for ages. It really actually smacks that you've gone out there and put the wrong footwear on to fall over as much as you did. Because the conditions should be pretty much set.
Yeah.
Now, is there something that they actually have? Look, when I played footy as a kid, you had one set of stops. Now you got moulds, you got stops. Yeah. But really, how many deviants? How many deviations of that would there be?
Well, I think generally players don't wear the stops anymore because the grounds are always in such pristine condition that, it's very rare for them to be slippery that you need, the big stops to plant into the ground.
Yeah, I don't get it. With the Essendon players putting like little things of oil in front of them?
I'll say the way we play is sometimes trying to get this game going, this daring globetrotter type game, is they take risks where I just think, just do the simple thing. Don't fucking tap it, just grab it and, it's like they're trying to tap it between their legs to someone and shit like that. It's just like, do the simple thing. And then if there's no other option, then you go for the more extraordinary thing. So I think they just need to watch that. The other thing that really fucking frustrating was the tackling. It's like you tackle someone, and I know there's the big hoo-ha now about, slinging someone to the ground, but geez, if you're going to tackle someone, can you actually trap their arms so they don't get a possession out? Too often we tackle, and I think the other way, the way we play is like when someone tackles, then everyone swarms in and goes at that ball carrier, is I think sometimes that a player needs to go, well, hang on, he's got the tackle under control. I'll actually zone out a little bit, so if it does spill loose, and that's what Essendon was doing. It's like we're all going in for the tackle, and they're just firing the handball out, and someone's got it.
As long as we don't come across sounding like Brad Scott whinging about the 666 rule, I did think some of the tackling was exceptionally not soft, but it should have stuck it a hell of a lot harder. Because how many times did we actually have a tackle, and Essendon was still able to get the ball?
Yeah,
off
what I'm saying. It's just
it was just too consistently. Soft's the wrong word. I'm not sure what word to use.
It
flaky, I don't know.
It didn't impede him enough.
So, and that's the thing. I think you really want to try and stimulate some of the run, but we just looked like we were constantly running on the outside, watching the play happen in front of us without impacting too much on it, like in those contests that we should normally do.
Jack Ginnivan, 2 goals, 2 really important goals too. That second one he got, this set shot from, I don't know, about 30 out, really vital goal. People wondering, can you play him, Hill, and McCreary in the same forward line?
I think we proved we can.
I think you're probably asking, can you play Elliott in that forward line at the moment?
Are we going to talk about Elliott?
Yeah, you can talk about Elliott.
Yeah, look, at the moment, those 3 are over who are shining Jamie's output. I really feel bad about being negative about Elliott, but I've been probably disappointed in his output this year. He's, how many goals he kicked? 5?
Yeah.
5, 4 something?
Was it 5-4 or something he's kicked? And I mean, he's spraying it at times. And
yeah, look, I mean, some of those misses directly out in front, and it's easy for us to say there's a couple of lumbering old men.
I'm pretty good, though.
I would have kicked them. It's those moments where I think that you look at him and you would seriously rely on him to convert. This year he's letting us down.
Historically, he's been a good converter of.
Well, historically,
he's
been an incredibly good converter historically. But at the moment, there's just something off. I don't know whether he's playing sore or it's like we talked about it last week that he was slammed in the turf a number of times, slow to get up, that sort of thing. Do you think he needs a rest? Maybe a week back in the twos or something like that, or a week off?
It'll be interesting what they do this week going into a 4-day break because I'm guessing there's some players they'll rest. They'll say we can't have there's certain players that can't play 3 games in the space of, whatever it's going to be 11 days or whatever it is.
It's not too many days. We play Sunday afternoon, so what's that? About 3 minutes from now.
Oh, it's 4-day break. So I mean, don't count today and don't count the actual Sunday. It's a 4-day break.
We're travelling,
and we're travelling.
Because that arduous flight to Adelaide kills a lot of people. Well, do you know what kills people more?
666 rule. Jack Crisp.
Yes.
I'm going to just go through some quick names. Jack Crisp, good, bad.
Started poor, got into it. I think a hell of a lot towards the end of the game.
Hoskin Elliott.
Who?
Braden Maynard.
He's struggling. He's not been great this year.
Yeah, that number 4 is carrying the dead
I
weight.
think we're getting back in the 37.
Bo McCreary.
Yeah, he was very quiet in the first half, but I think he pulled himself into the game when it mattered.
John Noble.
How many head-high tackles can't you be paid in a game?
Isaac Quaynor.
I know you're a little bit...
I don't think he does enough.
Yeah, I didn't think he was as bad as you thought, but he was okay. Okay without being brilliant.
Quaynor, I was looking at him, I think he should be like that Johannesson from Bulldogs years ago, where he just grabs the ball and goes. He's got the size, he's got the speed and all that, but I don't know, there's a lot of times I watch him, I think he's just sort of drifting around waiting for things to come to him.
He's playing more as a negator. He's not doing that run.
Yeah,
at the moment.
and
he just seems to be wanting to spoil contests, but not taking the ball. You look at, remember the days of Harry O'Brien, like with Janice and what you were saying.
Lumumba.
Yeah, was that what he's calling himself this week? Who knows? But remember, he used to go on those mad dashes.
Yeah.
Like, you take the ball and just fucking run. You weren't sure where it was going to end up, but they were joys to watch, and that's where he probably should be, but I don't know what... But maybe again it's instruction. Maybe he's just
I don't think it's instruction.
I
think
dour negator. I don't know.
It's like I look at Noble, and Noble, I don't think.
Well, he's got that flair,
but he tries that. He'll go. He'll get it. And I mean, the thing with Noble, how many times today did he just go, "Hey, I got the ball. Let me turn back inside the pack, and I'll go through him and all that sort of shit." But he's trying to make things happen. Whereas Quaynor, just like I said, he seems to be a reactor rather than a. Well, he's not trying to make, or he doesn't seem to be trying to make fucking things happen. Still side bottom, got to give him credit. So I thought he had a really good game.
I thought earlier on in the piece that he'd go close to winning the Anzac medal today, just because he was in everything and he was impacting everything that he was a part of. He got a lot of 2 votes from the voters, except for the girl who fancies Redmond. But other than that, he did really, really, really well today. For a bloke his age, and the fact that he was wearing a sunscreen dome at the start of the game that didn't seem to hinder him too much, he was good.
Going the last quarter, 28 points down, did you think we would win?
No.
So I thought it would be a case of, well, how much you're going to lose by. I was critical of Carlton last week, who just, not against St Kilda, but the week before against Adelaide, they sort of gave up and lost by 8 goals. And I think Richmond did it that week also. So I was like watching it going, oh, it'd be interesting what happens here. Are we just going to give it up and lose by 7 goals? Or are we going to fight it out and lose by 3 goals? Totally didn't expect them to come back the way they did. Frampton, we've mentioned, was good. I thought Rusco, as it went on, he was starting to take marks. He was starting to actually trying to...
Yeah, when he stopped trying to punch everything that was coming his way and taking marks.
Had a pivotal tackle, which they fucking paid on their half forward, our half back line pretty much, which they actually paid, which was probably a shock to everyone there. So I thought he was good. The guy, Will Kelly, it's like, watch that. It's like, fuck, come on, make it.
That kick that he lobbed.
Yeah.
And that was a brilliant kick. I could seriously rewind that kick and watch it 50 times.
He barely seems to put much into it too.
No, and it just lands beautifully weighted into Bobby Hill.
Yeah.
And he's delivered it forward. And he's had another crack later on in that quarter too. And it just looked like, you look like you should be out there, mate. Yeah.
Well, that's a game where, again, you come into this game, 95,000, really high pressure game. Essendon are really hard at it. So for that to be your first game for the year, fucking, props to him and Rusco, who...
I think he deserves to be in the side next week. Not as a sub, but in the start, just to see.
I think I'd love to see him playing... I don't know what the club thinks, but I'd love to see him playing defence, and can he nail down that sort of that lockdown key position role and give you a gorilla so you can play guys like Howell and Murphy and more, and and play him a little bit more like a third man up and shit like that. I mean, the one thing, it frustrates me when they take more and go, we're just going to put him the number 1 forward. It's like, look, fucking go learn from Hawthorn when Clarkson was coaching. Gibson was their best defender. He never played on the best forward. He was always given the 4th or 5th best forward, so he could drift off and do his stuff. Same with Dustin Fletcher under Essendon. Let Moore, be that 4th, 5th, or be on the 4th or 5th best forward. That way he can be the intercept guy. Rather than, what they were doing in that third quarter is they were getting that Langford to sort of go, well, hang on, let's drag Moore out of the fucking intercept range. And then they were going forward, and without Nathan Murphy there. But
No, and Murphy plays a perfect fall to Moore as well with some of those intercept marks. And we really did miss that.
well, there's times like where Rusco was actually spoiling our own guys from marking it.
Yeah, look, I mean, again, how many games has Rusco played? It's not
He's
many.
played.
Yeah, you've got to cut him a fair bit of slack.
What's I'm saying? I mean,
it
he's
was
out of sync.
frustrating because I think there were times there's lack of experience clearly.
Yeah.
That where he was sitting there on his, well, not on his own, but he was in enough clear space that he should have marked those balls and turned it around in terms of kicking it out. But he went the big German every single time.
Yeah, until the second half. How good is it to fucking beat Essendon on Anzac Day when they're 5 goals up at 3/4 time and they are really rating themselves and the umpires are absolutely fucking mauling us? Really, that seriously, you should fucking have a good hard look at yourselves for that fucking umpire performance. It's one of the worst I've ever seen. Oh, it's appalling. I'm glad we won because I can save this now. I can just fucking tee off at it. You were terrible. Honestly, again, subcontinent, I'd be looking to match fixing allegations. It was that bad.
It wasn't great. No, it was fucking awesome to win. We've watched the last quarter since the game finished. We're not too far off how fresh the win feels, but to me, it's almost top 5 best wins. I don't know. Actually, I should include grand finals in that because that should be a gimme. But it was a 41-point turnaround at the end. That's a fair comeback when we look like we were absolutely dead in the water. Though I did say, as a qualifier to that, the one thing that I took out of half time is I thought that Essendon were just frantic. They were doing everything. They were throwing everything at us that they couldn't sustain that for 4 quarters. And I think there's something about the way that we're playing. I reckon this is something we tried to execute a little bit against Brisbane but failed because they just had that massive period of scoring, is that we do rope-a-dope opponents. We try and wear them down, knowing that if we get within spitting distance, we can reel them in that last quarter and run over them. Like any other given day, if they didn't have that margin, we would have won that game by 5-6 goals, I think.
Well, they didn't have those umpires.
Well, if they didn't have the umpires, it would have been 50 or 60 goals. All that goddamn 666 rule. It gets in the way of everybody.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. I mean, I was talking to someone else yesterday because we went to another game and
you're seeing other sides.
Yeah, saw Richmond, Melbourne. But in terms of like last year, the Essendon win and the Carlton win, the second ones when we beat them, because we beat you both twice last year. But the second win with the Elliott goal after the siren and the last round against Carlton, they're the 2 best home and away wins I've ever seen. You know, the Carlton one had so much stakes in terms of, us top 4 spot, Carlton getting pushed out of the finals. It really just had so much where you're going, historically, they're the ones we lose. And that Essendon one to be, effectively, a goal down, with about 45 seconds left and get it to the other end of the ground with this perfect unbroken chain. And then to win that, like, after the siren, that was just ridiculous. And then this one today, I was actually looking again, surely you can't do this again, 28 points down, they're all over us. We're not quite firing. There's even, like, little things, like I was saying, in the first half, just even, like, fucking bounces aren't working for us and shit like that.
Oh, it was criminal.
Yeah.
The amount of times the ball fell in their favour was just... The footy gods just weren't smiling on you. There's nothing to do with skills or anything like that. It's just luck of the bounce, and the luck just seemed to be going their way constantly.
And then that sort of turned around that last quarter. But to win that on that day in front of that crowd with an opposition, this is the first time both teams have been in top 4 going into an Anzac Day.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it?
Generally, when we've played Anzac Day games, one side's up, one side's down. We've very rarely been both up at the same time. 202 eventually were grand finalists, but we're coming off 2001 where we weren't finalists, so we're still shit. 203 were probably sort of both uppish there, but like we had that grand final hangover, because losing a grand final gives you that. But generally, both teams have never been up, and we were both up, and they were coming off a really good win against Melbourne. So you look at them going, well, fucking, they're actually potentially the genuine article in terms of being a finalist, potential finalist. Going that last quarter to fucking turn that 28 point margin around, that was fucking, seriously, one of the best things I've seen. Any final thoughts about this game outside of what a twat James Rayshaw is?
No, this is a game that, look, obviously the result has a fair influence on the statement I fucking love. It's a game I reckon I could probably go back and watch a couple of times this week just to. I think again, like you watched that last quarter going, well, seriously, how did you pull it off? It was an incredible turnaround. And now I think that you've come out the cold light of the day. You can sit there and watch that game in isolation now or in the future and think it was brilliantly executed because you had so many things working against you, like the 666 rule, coming into that last quarter where you had no right to probably even compete to win, and you just ripped it out of there. You ripped the victory out of their hands, and at the end pretty much shoved it back in their face.
I mean, the really good thing, the 6 games we've played, you've smashed aside against Port Adelaide. You've had to hold on against the late charge against St Kilda. And in this game and the Geelong game, you've had to come from behind and win it. So, like, they've done a lot of scenarios already. So you look at him and you go, well, you're capable of multiple things. You're just not just flat track bullies or whatever the case, or like last year where you're just going to be escape artists. So the one thing I'd like to see is that last quarter, the way we played, we totally eclipsed them. If you put that effort into the first half, you would have won by 8 goals or whatever. You probably might have crushed them. They might have just fucking broken. So it's getting that consistency out there. Next week, 4 days, Adelaide.
The Crows over there.
Yeah.
Probably up until a couple of weeks ago, that would have been, you would have penciled in for an easy 4 points. The Crows have been fairly...
Well, that's now when you play Carlton.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Well, that's coming up soon,
Yeah.
so we're obviously banking the 4 points in advance for that one. But I don't think it's going to be as easy as I hoped it would have been. When did Crows play? Was it yesterday? Did they play yesterday?
Sunday.
So they've got a couple more days rest up their sleeve. We're playing at their dung patch. Look, I think we'll have who comes back?
Murphy will come back.
Murphy, Cox. I think Cox,
and Adams.
surely, and Adams. Who goes out though? Seriously,
Kruger.
Kruger. I don't think.
Rusco will go out.
Oscar Elliott. We've seen him go out. He goes out just as quick as he comes back in again. It's like a revolving door policy.
He's just in 2 places at once nowadays.
He goes, Hosky, I've got a bit of bad news for you, mate. You're out of there and again. I think that's how it pretty much goes.
I think that was 2 weeks ago, but yeah, I think McRae goes, mate, you're out. And then Hoskin Elliott walked out and ran to Lepage, and Lepage said, you're back in. Because he just told me he's out. Yeah, I'm out. And Lepage just goes, yeah, he texted me, you're back in.
Yeah, so when McRae said you're out, he just went, lol. He said, lol. He got serious, are you, mate? Come on. And he's scruffing his hair at the end. I mean, surely he's out this week, though. He'll be managed again. He won't be dropped. He'll be managed. What was his output today? It was fucking 10 possessions.
10 possessions and 1 contested. 70%, I think, disposal efficiency. The other one you got a question mark over is Pendlebury because he got the poke in the eye.
He almost did take Mark of the Year, though, Hosky. And I would have paid that mark.
That should have been a mark, yeah.
I thought he held it long enough.
I think it was Mark of the Year, but it should have been.
One cameo a swallow doesn't summer make. Is that the right thing to say?
Oscar Elliott's sorry if you're watching, Will, but he's a fucking extremely disappointing player given the skills he has to not impact games more and to not be that sort of escape artist type player who'll get the couple of goals when you need them and shit like that.
I think the harsh bit is like you look at his 2018 year and you thought you've got so much to build on from that. That was a really good year. When's it coming? Well, how many more years are we going to wait? It's just like, I think we've seen what you are in terms of where your best is. The cameo performances and a lot of...
But I mean, that's like with any player. You're watching... When they come on the scene, you watch their trajectory, and obviously they all improve at different levels. But there's certain players you think, what have we got there? And then, this, I'm not just saying us, but anyone. But they hit a plateau, and you go, oh, okay, that's it, is it? But you don't realise that until a couple of seasons later when you realise they're not improving anymore, they're not impacting games anymore. So we've seen what the best of you is, and this is it. We might need to move on to something else. And Hoskin Elliott, he's just been disappointed because he got the fucking skill levels. I think he's a top 5 draft pick. I think he's a pick 4 or something.
Yeah, look, definitely.
He's got pace, he's got good kicking skills, he's a really good mark generally, but just he doesn't impact the game enough. And for that sort of player, it's not like McCreary who will actually... can get a 10 possession game, but he can actually defensively, you scare the shit out of some players. You know, there's some of the stuff McCreary did today, like where they try to tackle him and he just shrugs, people off and you fucking bumped into him. It's like, I think sometimes you might have to get this guy as a defensive midfielder just to scare the shit out of, whoever the fuck he's going to be on. Because he's got a physicality that no one else, this is not to disparage any other Collingwood player, because it's just in any club, you just got a physicality where he's fucking out there and it's like, just get the fuck out of my way. I don't give a... Anyway, so that's going in the... let's keep against Adelaide.
I think Adelaide at home will win by 10 goals.
I'm going to say against Adelaide by 24 points. I think it'll be one where we get the lead and we lose the lead and then we get it back. And
look, I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, if we did drop one after such a short break. You'll have I think today was a fairly impactful game. You'll have a few sore, tired. Like at the end, I think, even when there were misses, there's a few players that dropped to the ground and were stretching out legs and stuff. They were cramping a little bit. The important thing is about how they manage that recovery to get them into the Sunday game. But if we dropped it Sunday, it's not the end of the world in terms of we have some very winnable games coming up. We could almost afford to have a bit of a relaxation game on Sunday without being detrimental to our season. However, though, fuck that, win everything. Despite the 666 rule, I think we could probably just smash through the next 2 months and get a number of wins that would secure a top 8 spot well and truly comfortably, and that should be the aim.
And I want to give a special kudos to the AFL for such shit fixturing. I know Anzac Day's always tricky, but surely Adelaide would have had a game yesterday, so you have it like equal. Surely yesterday's game should have been... I don't know, who's Essendon got next to it? I think it's Geelong. But surely yesterday's game should have been like Adelaide-Geelong. So next week, Essendon and Collingwood going to a game against two teams who've only had like 1 day extra break. And that would make it fair. But it's like, well, hang on, we're playing Adelaide who's had a couple of days extra break. Geelong played like last week, didn't they? They smashed Sydney.
Yeah, it was Friday night, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's like, well... Not that I give a shit about fairness to Essendon, fuck that, but it's really ridiculous fixturing. Any last thoughts about anything, ultimately?
No, other than today was fucking enjoyable in that last quarter. More of that, please. Oh, not so much more of that in terms of the close games, but just more of that effort in the last quarter across the board. But that's just supporters asking for the impossible. I don't think you can be that good all the time, but that was fucking brilliant football. Thank you very much, Collingwood.
Yeah, well, thanks, Collingwood. You've turned, it was a decade of shit into really enjoyable football. I know the memberships are swelling and all that, so people who are responsible for getting these people in charge of the team, on-field performances, well done. Fucking,
record crowd today, I think.
There's number one crowd.
95,500. We watched it at casted a Sly. With a lot of beers, as you may have worked out. But
I think they were half of that.
Just as good here. It was just as good.
That's better here.
You called for a minute's silence about 5 minutes after I walked in the door.
Yeah, had nothing to do with
84 times.
It was great to listen to BT, James Brayshaw.
No, it's not.
Daisy Pearce gets a lot of rats. The fuck, she's just Captain Obvious, the shit she says.
Ooh, that's a bit misogynistic.
Well,
I think we should cancel you.
Well, I just called 2 of the male commentators useless too, so...
That doesn't matter.
It's... Yeah, anyway. James Brayshaw, can you get much worse than him?
No, you can. It's Dwayne Russell.
This was not a boating accident.
Captain Inane.
Yeah. Well done,
Anyway, I managed to... It's only when I think a lot of the time when I watch the footy with you and you bring up how much the commentators are annoying you, that's the only time that they annoy me, because most of that I fucking drone. That droning, I tune out.
You didn't commentate, but... Look,
What'd you say?
You can switch off now, but he didn't commentate, but did Hamish McLaughlin have a job before his brother was AFL CEO? He was just fucking cashing dole checks in moccasins, wasn't he?
I think he was working with the Amish.
That's terrible. Anyway, that's it from us.
Bloody good work, Collingwood. Fantastic.
Later.
Catch.